What's going on, everybody? This is Joseph Indolos, and welcome to Growth and Skills Café Southeast Asia, your podcast for quick, meaningful conversations on skills, learning, and talent development across Southeast Asia. So, together with me here, we have an esteemed guest. He is a seasoned professional from learning and development, talent development, organizational effectiveness. His name is Cyril Tan. And Cyril, welcome to the show.
Hi everyone, I'm Cyril. I'm the head of organization effectiveness at UMobile. I'm passionate about aligning HR strategy with business objective that foster high performance culture and support transformational change. So I always passionate in leadership related topics, upskilling people, preparing them for the futures, etc. That's why I'm in HR.
Perfect. Thanks for that context, Cyril. So actually let's go straight into the questions, right? So and a lot of our listeners, I'm pretty sure they're, you know, looking forward to the insights about skills-based learning, like what you mentioned, like, upskilling people, right? So in your perspective, what are the most like critical skills in your current organization that you guys are focusing right now in developing, regardless if they're the front lines or they're like the corporate employees? Yeah.
See. Right. We are embracing Gen AI. Gen AI is unavoidable nowadays. There is the key topics that we are talking to unlock new possibilities and keep our teams ahead of the curves. So there are a says that without you changing your job are changing. So we need to adapt ourselves in learning Gen AI, how to leverage the power of Gen AI to unlock all the possible things that we can't imagine in the past. Besides Gen AI, I think very important also we champion critical thinking. With Gen AI, over time, people may slowly believe what Gen AI came out, all the answers that Gen AI came out. So without critically think through whether the answers are really make sense, relevance to the context that you're in. Critical thinking is another skill set that we are talking. So the last but not least, leadership. Leadership is the soft skills or that create competitive advantage of an organization because people need to grow. Not only the industry are growing, people also need to grow to adapt to that changes. So leadership skills also another things that makes everyone confident to step up and inspire others and create competitive edge for a business.
Oh, perfect. You touch point on a very interesting element, which is the critical thinking. Because I heard one of the conversations I was listening to, wherein critical thinking is also. I'll give an example. Before, if we see a picture, we can determine if it's photoshopped,
Yes.
like if it's Adobe Photoshop, right? Now, the challenge with AI is how do we determine if that video is actually generated by AI?
Yes.
So, the critical thinking component, like mastering that kind of skill, understanding that, this is AI generated, this is genuine. So
Yes.
how do we cultivate that kind of mindset to our people? Yeah.
I think with the Gen AI as well, I mean, people tend to always seek information via prompting.
Yeah.
Right. So Gen AI give you quick answers. So over times, people may become lazy. So you trust all the information that generate by Gen AI, and you may slowly lose the capability of critically think through the information you are getting from Gen AI, whether it's true or not. Because Gen AI follows model. Model may not give you the answers correctly. So critical thinking has become so critical nowadays it be, to all the people.
Yeah. I think not just a specific industry, that and you're right, to everyone, to all people, regardless of the age,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah. Yeah. So with that said, that's a very good. Thank you for sharing that you're gearing towards Gen AI. So I'm assuming there's some challenges
Yes.
along the way on how you adapt to that, especially working with your learners, with your people, and then also how do you inject that in building a skills-based learning culture? Yeah. So, what are some of your biggest challenges you have in mind? Yeah.
So our biggest challenge is shifting mindset from short-term wins to long-term growth. So we remind ourselves investing in people is not a cost. It is our greatest competitive advantage because a lot of organizations nowadays learning does not comes with immediate pay to the company. Example, they're focusing more on business operation, generating revenue because that is quick wins for a business. But learning is more on long-term growth for a company to stay relevant, to stay competitive. So, what is the biggest challenges in building our skill first culture? It's long-term mindset.
Oh,
Yeah. So a lot of business still don't see that. Still don't see that. We continue to champion it. We see learning as a catalyst or enabler for long-term wins for a business. So we are on a mission to make learning and grow as part of our DNA in U Mobile. It's not just a box to tick.
yeah, yeah. And then that's actually a very, very difficult challenge, especially I think humans are designed to think at the present,
Yes.
especially what's next tomorrow, short term, right? So, like entrepreneurs, visionaries, they think the long haul. So I think that's something that very very crucial these days. In in terms of like, and we're talking about long haul, you know, measurement as well of that of those learning programs. So it's very helpful if you have visibility on the impact of that. So how do you kind of like measure the impact of those learning programs in a span of time? So do you have something that you're doing right now?
I think in learning space, measuring ROI, it's always a key question that all the learning and development specialists are asking. How can we prove to the business learning really did have an impact to the business? Because it's very hard to measure. But in another perspective, it's how do you to measure the impact, we must set clear and meaningful objective for every learning initiative before we run it. We need to have clear and meaningful objective. Based on the objective, we derive how are we measuring the success of the program. If let's say we didn't define that objective and start rolling out program, definitely we face any issues in measuring the impact of learning to the business. So we are not measuring just knowledge gain, but real change how people apply what they have learned. Yeah. So there are many ways of us measuring impact of learning. It can be pre and post test, it can be customer satisfaction, it can be employee satisfaction, it can be anything. But before even measuring the impact, we need to have clear and meaningful objectives set for all the program. So success for us is when learning spark action, innovation, and growth across the business. This is how we practice in New Mobile.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, having set goals prior to rolling out something is that means you know what you're doing.
Yes.
Because and I agree with you, not just for learning but also for other facets. For example, like sales and marketing, right? You launch a campaign, you launch an ad, but there's always an associated target or goal for that. Otherwise we're just kind of like doing it for the sake of it, right?
Yes. So have an end in mind is very important. So how do you see learning in changing behavior of an employees? You need to visualize it. So based on what you have visualized, derive a measurement tools to measure how do you define success of your program? Based on that, then we are able to measure impact of learning.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. So, also, Cyril, in your experience, and now we're gonna talk about from a regional standpoint. How receptive are employees in Southeast Asia when it comes to continuous learning? I can personally tell you from Philippines, so I'm from Philippines. There's a lot of skepticism when it comes to upskilling and all, or rather, it's a new concept for Philippines. So I think from your experience from a Malaysian standpoint, or wherever you've conducted learning and development, would be helpful for our listeners as well.
I think the business cycle has become shorter and shorter, and more people sees the need of learning to stay relevant. So I do see a growth in hunger for learning in people. So across Asia, I do see more and more people are taking self-initiative in learning. So because they do find it very important, because things change so fast. If you don't continuously learn something, sooner or later you'll be outdated. You'll be left out and not relevant in this business landscape. So I do see people are growing in hunger. Yeah. So when people see the impact of learning in their own growth, they become champion for it. So there are more and more people stepping out and driving their own learning, asking opportunity for training and development. Because I don't see it 20 years ago. I do see it now when even when we conduct employee engagement survey, people say, I want learning, I want training and development, I want career growth, all this. So I do see an improvement in that sense. So our role in L&D or organization effectiveness is to nurture that curiosity and turn that into a lifelong habit for our people.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of this. I saw a meme before where 10 years ago, 20 years ago, when they're filming a movie, there's a helicopter and then there's a cameraman. Now, fast forward, that job is gone.
Yes.
There's drone
Yes.
drone shooting the film, right? So, and I think that's the same as well with some of the functional responsibilities, like some of the job functions, the job roles. It's really rapidly transforming to
Yes.
a different type of skill sets. And unfortunately, there will be some maybe industries that can be affected. Talking about AI. So, and before, like, I thought it was just like a fad. So it's lacking of a better term. But now it's there. It's happening.
Yes. It's happening.
And
It's so fast. You have to use learning to enable you stay relevant. That's why I always see people are getting hunger and hunger again, learning new knowledge, learning new skills. Yeah.
and what's one strategy that really helped drive engagement in your company when it comes to the learning programs? Any tips and tricks that you guys are doing? Any promotionals? Do you reward your learners for a particular?
Definitely. I mean, we make learning fun, practical, and social. It's very important. Fun, practical, and social. Because people learn best when they are engaged and connected. So why we say fun? Because learning hap- learning was optimized when you enjoy it. I always believe that when you enjoy something, you will constantly do something. And when it is practical, then you tend to continue do it because you can apply what you have learned. And social, why social? Because we are social beings. We learn by sharing what we know to each other. Yeah, we learn also through our conversation with each other. So we are social beings. So that's why we practice this fun, practical, and social. So our leaders walk the talk. They share their journey, their learning journey. They also encourage others in doing so. It's also one of our factors. How do we drive learning in U Mobile? So we also celebrate every step forward, whether it's big or small. So we also announce different initiative campaigns. We just say reward our mystery. So those reward are limited edition. So whenever people earn it, yeah, they feel very proud of it. So we don't promise upfront. So we don't want to make learning like an entitlement to get something. Rather, we make it mysterious. So after they earn something, sometimes we give them a pair of tickets to watch a movies, karaoke, so or something unique for them. So recently, we launched LinkedIn Longest Hours Challenge. Then every week, we will share who's the top 10. So, top one, how many hours they have learned. Then they can reflect on themselves. Okay, I'm not too far. I still can chase. So, we create that kind of hype along the way to make learning a bit more engaging. Yeah.
It's like giving them some nuggets to,
Yes, correct.
yeah, that's great. And in terms of like digital platforms that you guys are using, like LMS, LXP, changing the way people learn in your company. So do you have some tools that you're using right now, and what are
I think digital platform will let us personalize learning for every individual. That's very important because different people, different needs, yeah, different gaps, and different career aspiration. So how can we have a platform that cater for this? Yeah. So where we can meet people where they are and then move them from there onwards to what they aspire to. Yeah. So we do have that kind of platform leveraging the power of Gen AI, all this. So learning it, and we make learning accessible right for people anywhere, anytime. Make growth as part of their daily life routine. So we want to embed that into that. So that's where how digital platform plays a part in learning. We also gamify it. So like what I said, it has to be fun, and also tell people progress and track their step every step they move, keep them motivated, yeah, and make learning a shared adventure together. Yeah, so just like I shared about LinkedIn longest hours, all this, so we do track and we share the progress, and we share when we share this progress, they have shared adventure together with their peers, so we create a community of learning. That's very important.
great? You touch point on I think one very good strategy wherein having the learning as if it's embedded in their day-to-day work, their day-to-day lives. So how do you structure it right now? Like in training versus informal, and then just in time learning, like learning in the flow of work. So how do you do you have more classroom sessions versus digital or self-paced learning? How do you do that right?
Actually, we didn't mention whether we have more in-person training or we have more informal training or self-learning. So we have a balance of it. So we do have classroom training for different purpose. We do offer tools for self-driven learning. So from time to time, we have different stakeholders step up to share what are some of the important suggested learning as well to our people. Example, recently, cybersecurity is one of the critical topics. So we do have people step out, share, oh, these are some of the topics you can learn. Then we can have that kind of community to share learning. And also we do have staff step out as well to share how they embed learning into their day life, daily routine, right? Example, I listen to LinkedIn Learning when I drive. So instead of driving without listening to anything because driving you just need to focus on the road. So I just on a LinkedIn Learning as a podcast for me to listen to it. So I spend my time in my car more meaningful, more fulfilling. Yeah.
Believe it or not, I do it in the bathroom.
Yeah. I mean, muffler a bit hard. That's water sound.
Yeah. But yeah, similar concept. I kind of, listen to a podcast when I start my day, like listening to motivational podcasts to
Yes.
kind of like boost my day and all right. So that's it. That's very, very helpful. And in terms of like what role does leadership play in making learning a priority in your organization?
I think leaders are our culture careers. Yeah, they set the tone by learning out loud and supporting their team to growth. I think this is very important. Leaders walk the talk. What people see you as a leader and what how you behave also will influence the whole team, how they behave. So our leaders always share the importance of learning. They also invited L&D example today. This morning I have my other division town hall. They also invited HR to share how their team progress in learning. So how is the average hours per staff in their division? Who are the top 10 learners? All this. So leaders do set the tones on that. When leaders make space for learning, it becomes a shared values, not just HR initiative. Because it is very important leaders make spaces within the working time for people to learn. Yeah, because that one sets a tone. How how important learning in our culture. Yeah. So the best leader inspire others to dream bigger, learn faster, and also reach higher. So we really s- sing this song and this culture. Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. And lastly, final question for today is, what role does an employee play in shaping your learning and development strategy? So earlier it's the leadership. Now, what's the role of the employee?
I think a lot of the time when we look at learning, we always look at what HR initiative they drive learning, what leaders does in learning. But employee do play a part in shaping our leadership strategy. At U Mobile, we truly believe effective strategy cannot be just driven by HR or leadership alone. Employee does play a heart at heart of it. So we established Learning and Development Council here in U Mobile because we know HR, we don't we cannot understand a lot of needs at respective business level because their people understood way better their needs compared to HR. So we set up a learning and development council to provide us perspective of their business, share directly their feedback, share what's the business priorities, help us shape our learning direction that makes our program more relevant and more impactful because that is very, very crucial. So by involving employees in co-creating our learning agenda, we foster greater engagement, we foster ownership of them and alignment with real business challenges because rather than we pluck from the sky, or these are the business challenges, but at business level, they don't feel it's relevant. So now we have that reach of people providing us direct feedback, then we really can create learning agenda, learning strategy that align with the business need and really making a business impact. Ultimately, this collaborative approach is to ensure learning objective that's very dynamic inclusive, and truly support both individual as well as organization growth.
Okay. That's interesting. How did you mentioned you have a learning development council.
Yes.
So are they a group of people inside U Mobile,
Yes.
like leadership, or like you
It can
just
be any employees. It can be any employees. So we have representative from all the divisions. So they will share with us what are some of the needs or challenges they see in their team. is there a way that we can help them bridging that gaps, knowledge or skills gaps? Then we co-create program or initiative together with the employee and pilot it within the team.
Okay. So is there a selection process to be included in the council, or is it like,
No, that we don't go very structured way. We go very organic way where we ask respective division leader, is there we need a representative of this council so to help us or doing this and that whatsoever. Then they suggested the name, then we ask their commitment and willingness. So we trust people who are willing, they are passionate in learning, they do can bring great business impact within the division. So that's where we recruit them. The only criteria that we have is the person must be passionate and willing to share information and co-create initiative that we piloted within the division.
perfect, perfect. Great. Thank you so much, Cyril. So, to our listeners, I hope you have, a lot of insights that you will be getting from this session. And before I let you go, Cyril, just, I think one quick, I would say, question about if you could recommend one mindset or habit of a professional in Southeast Asia, apart from what we discussed earlier, like critical thinking and all, what should they develop today? For example, for me, from my own perspective, I think adaptability is something that every person should develop because of the fast pace.
Yep.
Yeah. So any
For me, I think curiosity is also one of the key. So we see a lot of best practices in the market. Aren't you curious why they come up with this kind of program? How does it fit to the business? So I think curiosity is one of the key that leaders will need to develop as well.
so great. So thank you so much, Cyril. Again, everyone, thank you so much for joining us in this session. This is Growth and Skills Cafe Southeast Asia, your podcast for quick, meaningful conversations on skills, learning, and talent development across Southeast Asia. Looking forward to our next session. My name is Joseph Indolos. Thank you so much.